Camp Lazlo is a beloved series that aired from 2005 to 2008 with a total of 5 seasons and 61 episodes. Set in Camp Kidney in the fictional place of Prickly Pines, it follows the adventures of 3 best friends: Lazlo, a monkey; Raj, an elephant; and Clam, a rhinoceros. The camp is run by Scoutmaster Lumpus and his assistant Slinkman. The show explores themes of teamwork, imagination, joys of outdoor activities, and camp life. With that said, let's cover the series from start to end in detail.
There were 2 scouts who made a friend, and Lazlo was his name. O-L-A-Z-L-O.
Now, even before the series began, Raj and Clam met on a bus en route to camp, and upon arrival, Edward had already claimed the role of the resident bully. Clam's courage in standing up to Edward forged the fast friendship between him and Raj. Then Lazlo made a flamboyant entrance in a fruit truck bedecked in a vibrant African attire and dancing energetically, instantly injecting the sense of fun into camp life. Much to Lumpus's dismay, despite being assigned a rundown, rat-infested cabin, Lazlo, Raj, and Clam turned it into a cozy haven they affectionately named Jelly Bean Cabin. Although Raj initially had reservations about rooming with Lazlo, he eventually embraced the concept of fun, marking the beginning of the Jelly Bean's thrilling adventures at Camp Kidney. In the first episode of Camp Lazlo, the scouts of Camp Kidney, led by Scoutmaster Lumpus, embark on a fishing adventure at Leaky Lake, but they only manage to catch snow globes, frustrating Lumpus. The Jelly Bean Cabin trio, Lazlo, Raj, and Clam, arrives, and after witnessing the Squirrel Scouts' success, they decide to help Lumpus catch a fish. Disregarding warnings of a sea serpent in the lake, chaos ensues as they accidentally sink Lumpus's fishing boat, but after a bizarre sequence of events involving the sea serpent, Lumpus ends up needing their help. Lazlo saves Lumpus and retrieves a fish from the serpent's mouth, and they all celebrate their unlikely catch. Later, Scoutmaster Lumpus attempts to teach the scouts about first aid using a doll. However, the allure of an ice cream truck passing by the camp leads Chip and Skip to chase it, while Lumpus prevents the other scouts from escaping. Meanwhile, the Squirrel Scouts, Patsy, Nina, and Gretchen spot Chip and Skip's pursuit of the ice cream truck and mistakenly believe the Jelly Bean trio are aliens. Convinced that the jellies are extraterrestrial, the Squirrel Scouts kidnap them, leading the jellies to play along by pretending to be alien invaders planning to eat everyone's brains. They ultimately outwit the squirrels, but the squirrels get their revenge by sabotaging the jellies' ice cream with glue, leading to a hilarious and chaotic conclusion. One day, Lazlo, Raj, and Clam discover a snake named Snaky and bring it back to Jelly Cabin. However, they lose it and become frightened when they hear strange noises. They suspect Snaky is responsible for the noises, but it turns out to be Patsy Smiles. Patsy claims to know Kung Fu and offers to help find Snaky. As Lazlo and Patsy search for it, they find a clue that leads them to believe Snaky is furious because it lost its glasses. Panic ensues when they think it has eaten their friends, Raj and Clam. Eventually, they discover that everyone is safe up a tree, and Patsy reveals she lied about knowing Kung Fu, and the episode ends on a heartfelt note as she helps Lazlo confront Snaky and everyone reunites. While swimming in Leaky Lake, Lazlo unwittingly acquires a blood-sucking sea lamprey attached to his head. After being informed by Raj about the lamprey, Lazlo seeks help from Nurse Leslie, who surprisingly assures him that everything is fine. Lazlo names the lamprey Lamar and bonds with it, participating in buddy day activities together. Edward's attempts to remove Lamar prove futile, and the lamprey eventually drains all of Lazlo's blood, leaving him weakened. Lazlo then discovers Lamar is a female with babies and returns her to the water, leading to chaos among the campers, as Clam feeds his blood to lamprey offspring. In the end, Nurse Leslie is overwhelmed with patience, humorously rolling away in his chair, leaving everyone in a predicament. After a rain shower, Scoutmaster Lumpus attempts to woo Miss Doe with a picnic proposal. Miss Doe suggests a joint picnic involving both Bean and Squirrel Scouts, not the intimate gathering Lumpus had in mind. The picnic begins with a peaceful pine cone sitting competition, but it soon escalates into a chaotic food fight. As the battle rages on, it becomes a contest to determine who gets control of the mud puddle. While most scouts suffer from painful bottoms during the pinecone sitting, Lazlo and Patsy's smiles remain unfazed. In the end, Patsy wins the puddle, leaving Lazlo in pain, and the episode concludes with the puddle drying up, sparking a dispute over a tree that falls on Lumpus. One time, Lazlo recounts the legends of the treasure of Three-Eyed Freed, hidden away on the mysterious Itchy Island. When mosquitoes inadvertently mark Raj's skin with a treasure map, Lazlo dubs him Mappy, and the Jelly Bean Scouts set out on a canoe expedition to Itchy Island. Oblivious to the elderly Bird siblings Tommy and Timmy, who have spent a lifetime hunting the treasure, Raj's doubts about his friendship with Laszlo grow as he falls under their influence. Meanwhile, Laszlo and Clam launch a rescue mission for Raj, believing he's been abducted by asylum escapees. Ultimately, the treasure remains just out of reach, suspended by mosquitoes and chased by both the Jellies and the bickering brothers. Scoutmaster Lumpus goes on a demerit-giving spree, fueled by his failed attempts at wooing Jane Doe. Curious Laszlo plans to reunite the Bean Scouts and Squirrel Scouts through a dance, hoping to spark a connection between Lumpus and Jane. However, when Raj and Clam are kidnapped by the Squirrel Scouts and Lumpus rejects the idea, things get messy. After some convincing, the Squirrel Scouts reluctantly agree to the dance, and a chaotic slow dance escalates into a showdown. Just in the nick of time, Laszlo brings a love-struck Lumpus to the rescue. As Lumpus and Jane finally meet, his head comically explodes, leaving everyone shocked. At camp, Raj loses his retainer, which leads to a series of misadventures at camp. His friends, Laszlo and Clam, try to help him forget about it during a canoe trip, but Raj eventually panics when he sees his retainer floating away. They end up going down a waterfall, and Raj must choose between his retainer and his friends. In a dream sequence, he imagines a future where he values his friends over his retainer. However, in reality, his retainer falls into the water and Raj learns the importance of friendship, even if it means not having a perfect smile. The campers discover a discarded wig in the woods, leading Laszlo to pretend to have psychic abilities and make predictions for them. Laszlo's predictions become unexpectedly accurate, causing a sensation among the campers and even Scoutmaster Lumpus. However, the pressure mounts as everyone demands predictions and Laszlo struggles to keep up the facade. Eventually, he admits that the predictions were just for fun, causing disappointment among the campers. In the end, a chaotic situation unfolds as Lumpus tries to escape from Miss Mucus while dressed as a ballerina, much thanks to Laszlo's false predictions. Edward becomes obsessed with pantsing everyone at Camp Kidney, starting with Samson. He declares his intention to pants every camper, causing chaos and embarrassment among the Bean Scouts. Laszlo desperately tries to avoid being pantsed and even hides in Scoutmaster Lumpus's office, where Lumpus himself has fallen victim to Edward's antics. Laszlo is lured into a challenge by Edward, resulting in a pants-off between the two. Ultimately, their contest ends in a tie, and the entire camp decides to join in the fun by pantsing themselves. Even Lumpus ends up shirtless, declaring himself shirtsed. The Jelly Beans decide to spend Halloween at Camp Kidney to go trick-or-treating, while the other campers head home for the school year. Scoutmaster Lumpus, initially planning for a quiet evening alone, is horrified when the Jelly Beans come knocking on his cabin door for a trick-or-treat. He pretends they aren't real and refuses to give them candy. Unaware they're visiting the same place repeatedly, the Jelly Beans continue to trick-or-treat, frustrating Lumpus. He decides to scare them away but ends up unintentionally hiding them in a bear statue. Thinking they're the Halloween spirit, Lumpus pleads for forgiveness and the Jelly Beans respond by power puking, which Lumpus misinterprets as a sign of forgiveness. Oh, things never get dull at Camp Kidney. During the annual tug-of-war competition between Camp Kidney and Acorn Flats, where Acorn Flats consistently wins, Edward becomes irritated by Laszlo's playful rope shapes. A fierce tug results in Clam being propelled and colliding heads with Gretchen. While Gretchen is unharmed, Clam is injured and taken to Nurse Leslie's care. A mucus sample indicates that Clam is lovesick for Gretchen and must be kept away from her. Despite various attempts to cure Clam, Laszlo seeks assistance from his grandmother and, with Raj, embarks on a journey to find a special pie for the cure. In the meantime, Clam escapes and inadvertently ties himself to Gretchen with their neckerchiefs in a heart-shaped knot, leading to chaos and the activation of the lovesick beam alarm. The conflict escalates into a one-on-one tug-of-war between Clam and Gretchen until Raj and Laszlo intervene, throwing the pie at Gretchen to eradicate the lovesickness. In the aftermath of losing a game of Capture the Flag to Edward, and enduring his tirade about being macho, Laszlo stumbles upon a deeply hidden secret when Edward retreats to his cabin. His cherished Veronica doll, a source of comfort and affection. Fearing ridicule, Edward discreetly tosses Veronica out of the window, setting off an unexpected chain of events. The Jelly Beans unwittingly discover Veronica, believing it to be an action figure, while Edward's distress intensifies. Desperate to protect his beloved doll, Edward tries to hide his attachment, but the Beans continue playing with Veronica, oblivious to her true owner. When he faints from the overwhelming stress, the Beans remain oblivious to the significance of the doll. However, as rumors spread of Edward's plan to destroy a doll, chaos ensues at Camp Kidney. In the end, Laszlo's empathy leads him to help Edward preserve Veronica, and the explosive resolution brings a bizarre yet heartwarming conclusion to the tale. Scoutmaster Lumpus regales the Jellybeans with a story of his great-grandfather, General Sherman Beauregard Lumpus, who supposedly fought valiantly in the Battle of Pimpleback Mountain with his trusty soldier, a tent named Old Ironside. However, when the Jellybeans explore Old Ironside, they accidentally damage the tent and discover personal belongings that belong to other soldiers. Lumpus returns to find the tent in ruins and assumes it's the work of the enemy. In his frenzy, he tears apart the tent until Slinkman intervenes with a frying pan. The Beans confess their role in the destruction, but Slinkman reveals the true story of the Battle of Pimpleback Mountain, where General Lumpus was attacked by his own men for stealing their belongings and ended up working in a circus cleaning up after elephants. A revelation that leaves even Raj disgusted. Scoutmaster Lumpus leads the Bean Scouts on a late-night adventure into the forest, claiming they're on a hunt to capture a creature called a snipe. Lumpus instructs them to catch it and bring it back to his office. However, as it turns out, the snipe hunt is an annual prank that Lumpus plays on the campers, and there is no such creature as a snipe. Edward tries to reveal the truth, but Laszlo doesn't believe him, and the Jellybeans end up going on a wild hunt to find the non-existent snipe. After a series of unsuccessful attempts to lure the snipe, morning arrives, and Lumpus accidentally locks himself in the snipe cage while trying to communicate with the scouts. The Jellybeans mistake Lumpus for a female snipe named Jennifer Soufflé and take her to Leaky Lake, thinking that she needs water. The episode ends with Lumpus secretly spitting out a bird's nest he accidentally swallowed, only to hear the birds chanting "snipe," perpetuating the prank. Jellybean Trio accidentally discovers a new exercise called Kundalini Size while practicing Kundalini Yoga and shares it with the rest of the camp. Scoutmaster Lumpus is alarmed by this, fearing that it might jeopardize his chances of becoming a Grand Legume. Slinkman advises Lumpus to come up with a new handshake to impress the Legume who is visiting the camp. Lumpus attempts to teach Laszlo a new handshake, but ends up creating a Lumpus handshake. When the Legume arrives and tries to perform the secret handshake with Lumpus, Lumpus forgets it and instead performs the Lumpus handshake. Surprisingly, the Legume is impressed by the new handshake, and Lumpus achieves his goal even though it is not what he initially intended. Raj discovers a secret hot spring to treat his acne. Samson unknowingly stumbles upon it, leading to tensions between them as they both try to claim it for themselves. They threaten to reveal embarrassing secrets about each other, but end up sharing the spring. However, they find out that their bodies have wrinkled significantly from the hot spring, and their so-called gross secrets are nothing compared to the condition of their skin right now. In a humorous twist, the entire camp knows about the hot spring and reveals they have their own embarrassing rashes, making Raj and Samson feel less self-conscious. One day, Bean Scouts return to Camp Kidney for the summer, only to discover that the camp has been closed down and is being dismantled. They are informed by Jane Doe that they'll be sent to another camp, but Laszlo receives a message in a dream from a giant bean named Clyde, instructing him to find the Rock of Hope and save Camp Kidney. With the help of Raj, Clam, and Patsy, they embark on a journey to find the Rock of Hope, facing various challenges along the way. Meanwhile, Edward has a dream that inspires him to help save Camp Kidney. Laszlo and his friends eventually meet the worldwide Bean Scout Jamboree and gain access to the Big Bean, who fondly remembers Camp Kidney and helps them to reopen it, much to Lumpus's dismay. Lumpus and Slinkman, in an attempt to impress Jane, venture to the Squirrel Scout camp, discovering her involvement in the Rock Buckskin fan club alongside Almondine. Assuming he shares their interest, Jane excitedly reveals their plan to attend the play 7 Deadly Sandwiches at Camp Kidney. However, Lumpus falsely claims he has the lead role, setting off a sequence of events that lead to his unexpected participation in the play. Rehearsals for the chaotic play unfold, marked by a series of mishaps among the cast, with Lumpus inadvertently causing the set to collapse. Despite the disarray, the play proceeds, and Lumpus's interruption eventually saves Jane from consuming a hemlock berry sandwich, earning him her admiration and even an invitation for lattes. Samson's mail delivery to a cornflats takes an unexpected turn when he meets the Squirrel Scouts, who eagerly snatch their mailbag despite his plea to keep things calm. The contents of the mail intrigue them, particularly an issue of Dreamboat magazine featuring hamster heartthrob Hanley Manster. They mistake Samson for the Fury heartthrob, leading to a chase around the camp. Desperate for safety, Samson turns to the Jellybeans for help. Despite their efforts, the squirrels continue their pursuit until an ingenious trick involving an Edward-resembling magazine cover redirects their attention, so now they are chasing him instead of Samson. Later, Samson acquires a new vacuum cleaner and enthusiastically embarks on a cleaning spree, removing all the dirt from Camp Kidney. However, this seemingly well-intentioned act takes an unexpected turn as many Bean Scouts end up injured while attempting to play on the now overly clean grounds. Nurse Leslie investigates the issue and reveals that without dirt, Chip and Skip, the dung beetles, will remain dormant for a century due to the absence of their cherished flies. To remedy the situation, the Bean Scouts journey to Acorn Flats to reclaim their dirt, which the Squirrel Scouts have repurposed for a spa. Despite several unsuccessful strategies, Samson devises a plan to provoke the Squirrel Scouts by insulting them, leading to a humorous mudslinging exchange. After this confrontation, the Bean Scouts successfully recovered their dirt, thus restoring Camp Kidney to its usual messy state. One day, Nina is taken aback when the Universe Board reveals that her soulmates are Chip and Skip. Initially repulsed by the idea, she reluctantly agrees to give them a chance after some encouragement from Patsy and Gretchen. Nina plans a date to test the waters, but struggles to cope with Chip and Skip's extreme foolishness. Eventually, her patience wears thin and she concludes that the universe must be wrong. Devastated, Nina runs off in tears. Chip and Skip, determined to fix the universe for her, decide to build a rocket using eco-friendly materials to take her on a space adventure. Nina is moved by their efforts and agrees to join them, but their makeshift rocket veers out of control and crash lands in Acorn Flats. During one episode, Raj frets over his loose baby tusk and worries the Tusk Wizard won't visit the camp. His fear becomes reality when he loses the tusk during lunch, leaving him devastated. Laszlo consoles Raj, promising to go to India with him if the Tusk Wizard doesn't appear. That night, Laszlo and Clam dress as the Tusk Wizard and Magical Tusk Brush to bring joy to Raj, but Raj's happiness hinges on losing his other baby tusk. They concoct a plan involving Slinkman and successfully remove the tusk, but Raj still longs to see the Tusk Wizard. He later realizes the true value of friendship when Laszlo and Clam reveal their costumes. In the end, it is revealed that the Tusk Wizard indeed visited the camp, thus concluding the episode on a heartwarming note. On a typical day at Camp Kidney, Samson's leisurely lakeside moment is abruptly interrupted when he's abducted by cheese-seeking aliens who can shapeshift and love old-timey fiddle music. Despite their attempts to extract cheese information, Samson remains clueless and is eventually ejected back to camp. Back at Camp Kidney, Samson's skepticism about new Canadian fish campers being aliens falls flat, and his efforts to prove it fail. Desperate for validation, he overhears the fish campers plotting to steal Chef McMuesli's cheese stash, confirming his suspicions. Samson's clumsy intervention ends in failure as the aliens, having successfully taken the cheese, reveal their true form and set their sights on Acorn Flats for their next scheme. Meanwhile, Acorn Flats bustles with preparations for the annual International Cheese Ball, except for Patsy, who's cheese allergic. Fortunately, her friend Nina crafts a cheese-proof suit for her. After some comical mishaps with the suit, Patsy, frustrated, leaves to fix her hair. Alone, Nina stumbles upon real cheese-craving aliens in her workshop. Intrigued, she befriends them, much to Patsy and Gretchen's chagrin. However, the aliens grow increasingly repulsed by Nina. Patsy and Gretchen attempt various strategies to regain Nina's attention, realizing Patsy's cheese allergy may hold the answer. At the cheese ball, they stage a hilarious ruse, making Patsy appear as an alien with lasers. Though initially shocked, the crowd's laughter wins Nina back, and the aliens, disappointed by the cheese shortage, plot revenge on Earth. During the credits, Slinkman uses a suction cup on Patsy's forehead to erase her memory of the cheese-eating incident. Later, Edward and Laszlo engage in the annual lemonade drinking contest, with Laszlo emerging victorious. However, after his win, Laszlo urgently needs to use the bathroom but discovers a long line of campers ahead of him. When he finally gets to the front, a cruel prank leaves the bathroom out of order. After several mishaps, Edward offers him a diaper, convincing Laszlo that astronauts wear them. Laszlo embraces it when showing the others accidentally persuades the whole camp to wear diapers, including Edward. To Edward's dismay, his older brothers arrive, witness his diaper-clad state, and mock him relentlessly. One day, the Jelly Beans and Samson are perched atop their cabin, attempting to spot exotic birds but repeatedly missing them, leading to playful teasing about Edward's platypus identity. However, when Edward awakens one morning to find an egg between his legs, he's thrown into a panic, believing he's going to be a mother. Despite various attempts to rid himself of the egg and seek help, the camp misunderstands the situation and Edward's motherhood becomes a camp-wide event. Eventually, Dave and Ping Pong admit to their prank, and the camp undergoes educational film sessions about different species, ultimately diffusing the confusion and chaos surrounding Edward's unexpected egg. Gathered around the campfire, the Bean Scouts praise Raj's captivating story while unwittingly skipping Harold's turn. Feeling overlooked, Harold, along with Milt and Larison, decides to shed his background role and become cooler. He quickly befriends Raj by emulating his interests, making Raj believe he's found the perfect companion. However, as Harold mirrors Raj's every preference and the two grow more similar, Raj becomes increasingly uncomfortable, eventually ending their friendship. Harold is left alone and observes other campers playing together but fails to join in. Raj notices Harold's isolation and offers to help him discover his true self. That leads to Harold's desire to be a superhero and Raj as his sidekick. In the end, it is revealed that this whole episode was a story narrated by Harold, and everyone claims it to be the best story ever. Well, that was unexpected. And this episode starts with the Bean Scouts lamenting the loss of the last candy at Camp Kidney after Slinkman shreds it in Old Shredful. Samson decides to make his own candy using his Little Bean chemistry set, eventually succeeding. He shares the candy with his fellow scouts, who start doing favors for him in exchange for the candy. However, Slinkman investigates the source of the candy and confronts Samson. Chip and Skip accidentally destroy Samson's chemistry set while trying to make more candy, and Slinkman tries to shred the candy with a bigger shredder. When two big candies appear, Samson believes that this chemistry set has turned his friends into candy. He creates a concoction to reverse the candy transformation, but fails, and Slinkman shreds the candy, causing Samson to believe his friends are gone. In reality, they resurfaced with a giant pumpkin-shaped candy basket. Slinkman warns Samson against making candy again, or else he'll involve his parents while chasing after the candy-filled pumpkin. On Clown Day at Camp Kidney, everyone is reveling in the festivities except for Laszlo, who harbors a deep-seated fear of clowns due to a traumatic childhood experience. His day takes a dreadful turn when Scoutmaster Lumpus decides to extend Clown Day indefinitely, requiring every camper to take on the role of a clown. When it's Laszlo's turn, panic sets in and he inadvertently transforms Scoutmaster Lumpus into a clown by throwing confetti at him. Angered by the mishap, Scoutmaster Lumpus relentlessly pursues Laszlo, leading to a comical chase up Slapstick Mountain, the clown's residence. However, Lumpus's luck changes when he stumbles upon a rake, causing the clowns to accept him into their group. Filled with guilt for what he's inadvertently caused, Laszlo, along with Raj and Clam, comes to Lumpus's rescue, devising a clever plan to outwit the clowns by cramming them all into a tiny clown car, ultimately saving their beloved Moose from an undignified clownish fate. Edward longs for solitude during a Bean Scout sleepout, but his plans go awry when his sleeping bag is ruined. In a fit of frustration, he commandeers the other Bean Scouts' sleeping bags, sewing them into a colossal cocoon. Exhausted, he drifts to sleep but awakens trapped within the bag labyrinth. Morning chaos erupts as Scouts mistake his cocoon for Kevin, a mythical monster. Ignoring Edward's plight, they have fun until he decides to leave the group, accepting his bag-bound fate. Misunderstandings multiply until Slinkman returns, but his explanations fall on deaf ears. Eventually, Laszlo arrives and finds Edward, reuniting with relief amidst the chaos. Laszlo's forest adventure takes a painful turn when Edward maliciously breaks Laszlo's ankle. Disappointed, orders Edward to make amends by fulfilling Laszlo's daily acts of kindness for the other campers. Despite his initial reluctance, Edward begrudgingly carries out these tasks. As the day ends, the campers, excluding Laszlo, celebrate Edward's newfound selflessness. It's a unique movement for Edward, who revels in the appreciation he receives. However, Laszlo, nursing jealousy, decides to throw a pity party, diverting the attention back to himself. Now, Edward craves attention once more, leading to a bizarre competition of self-inflicted injuries. The camp spirals into absurdity as this rivalry unfolds. One day, Jane Doe shocks Scoutmaster Lumpus by getting engaged to Mayor Pothole McPucker. Consumed by jealousy, Lumpus hatches a convoluted plan to dismantle their relationship, enlisting the help of the Jellybean Cabin trio. Together, they orchestrate a series of deliberate mishaps during a picnic and movie outing, highlighting Mayor Pothole McPucker's flaws and defacing the statue he intends to dedicate to Jane Doe. Their efforts backfire as Jane Doe's anger intensifies, and she confronts Lumpus and the trio. Expressing her fury at their manipulations, Jane Doe firmly uninvites Lumpus for her engagement party and eventually decides to wed the old turtle instead, leaving Lumpus to grapple with the consequences of his actions. On Pancake Tuesday, Chef McMuesli has only enough batter for one pancake, and Scoutmaster Lumpus selfishly takes it all for himself. Clam, furious at Lumpus, tosses the pancake along with eggs and bacon onto Lumpus's face. Raj warns Clam to run and he escapes to the hills, becoming an outlaw to evade Lumpus. Lumpus, still resentful, tries to punish the campers by canceling their marshmallow roast, but Clam secretly supplies them with marshmallows. The next day, Lumpus refuses to take the campers to see the world's largest ball of twine, but Clam thwarts his plan by flinging the bus into Leaky Lake using a rope. Lumpus attempts to cancel movie night, but Clam offers a shadow puppet show instead. The campers enjoy this while Clam humorously teases Lumpus about his affection for Jane Doe. Lumpus decides to become an outlaw himself, but his plan backfires, leaving him tied up in a tree. Clam rescues him and they both quit being outlaws, realizing it's no longer fun. Scoutmaster Lumpus is initially bored at the beaver's cabin until Samson, who has a jellyfish attached to his head, starts behaving wildly, and Lumpus joins in on the pranks. They prank everyone, including Prickly Pines, leading to complaints received by Slinkman. Slinkman sends Lumpus to his room, where Lumpus regresses to sucking his thumb. However, Samson outsmarts Lumpus by nailing Lumpus's entire bedroom to the ceiling. Lumpus starts getting increasingly irritated and fearful when he believes Slinkman has turned into a pile of salt. After restoring Slinkman to normal, Lumpus realizes it wasn't funny. Later, a phone call comes in for the caller. He inadvertently insults Samson's parents, causing him to hide in his shirt and scream. Slinkman urges Lumpus to help Samson remove the jellyfish from his head, but Samson's parents arrive before they can do anything. In a desperate attempt to hide Samson's condition, Lumpus uses a paper bag with a drawing of Samson's face, but Samson's parents, who are jellyfish themselves, discover the truth. The jellyfish on Samson's head is their friend, Jimmy. In the end, they take Samson and Jimmy home. On Jane Doe's wedding day, she gets stood up by the old turtle, which gives Lumpus the chance to swoop in and take his place. Jane agrees to marry him, but there is one slight problem. She has to stick his hands down the trunk to wear it, but she loves it so much that she vows to never take it off, meaning Raj is forever stuck with the newlywed couple. Soon after, it is Lumpus who becomes the third wheel, as Raj plans everything from Jane's wedding dress to the honeymoon spot. When Lumpus tries to separate Raj and Jane, she comically ends up stuck inside his trunk. At the altar, everyone is shocked to see Raj in the wedding dress instead of Jane, and the whole room bursts into laughter as Lumpus walks away in embarrassment. Eventually, Lumpus himself jumps inside Raj's trunk and proposes to Jane. In the end, Slinkman jumps in the trunk as well and weds the two, ending the episode on a hilarious note. As Scoutmaster Lumpus faces the daunting task of doing laundry, he becomes increasingly lazy and comes up with a bizarre solution for the campers' dirty clothes. He suggests that they run their clothes inside out and let the breeze clean them. However, this proves to be ineffective, and Slinkman convinces Lumpus to take everyone to a laundromat in Prickly Pines. Lumpus reluctantly agrees and they go to the laundromat where they do their laundry. Later, Lumpus hatches a plan to avoid doing laundry by having the campers paint their clothes on instead of wearing traditional clothing. This odd idea gains popularity and is eventually adopted by the entire town, earning Lumpus recognition as a genius. However, a rainstorm washes away the paint, leaving everyone naked and the citizens of Prickly Pines outraged. To make matters worse, the real Scoutmaster of Camp Kidney, Heifer Wolf, emerges, revealing Lumpus as an imposter who had locked him in a closet. Lumpus is arrested, vowing revenge on Heifer, while the Bean Scouts find themselves in a peculiar situation, culminating in an unexpected and eccentric conclusion to the series. Now, what an ending. Let us know down in the comments which of their adventures was your favorite. And as for everything else, drop us a like and share it with your friends if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to our channel for more awesome tunes recapped on your feed.